Your knee's been swayed.
And from the knee, sure. Good. And thrust, catch. Boom, there. Yeah. So I'm coming around the head. Can we see that? Yes. So I am a fight master with both Fight Directors Canada and the Society of American Fight Directors, and these are two fight societies that are promote safety and safe and effective stage violence, so that the emphasis is really on safety to make sure that the actors get to do the show the next night. But also effective stage combat, so that a fist fight or a sword fight or a sword and shield fight, that it looks like what we think it looked like. When I was a kid, I always loved the movies with fights in them. Robin Hood with Errol Flynn comes particularly to mind. Captain Blood, Prisoner of Zenda, all of those movies, they're super exciting. When I went to school, I went to Western Illinois University, and Drew Frazier, who was one of the first fight masters with the Society of American Fight Directors, was a student there. And he had this t-shirt on it with a fight on it. And I said, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. What's that? And he said, oh, it's a t-shirt of the Society of American Fight Directors. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, well, this is what stage combat is. And I went, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard of. And I took fencing like right after that. And then I was really, really, really lucky. The very first workshop of the Society of American Fight Directors happened at my school, and I applied and got in. I've worked on, I've done movies, I've not done very many movies. I've done some shows, and I've done commercials and stage, but predominantly I work on stage. I guess the biggest thing I did was I had a national commercial back in 1989. It was a Burger King commercial. 2013, I think, yeah, that's when we worked on Winter's Tale. It's based on the Mark Halpern book. That's a Russell Crowe movie. I never met Mr. Crowe, but I was a technical advisor on that movie. There was a lot of background who had pole arms, so halberds and pikes and things like that, and I was responsible for keeping all those guys safe. There was a documentary shot about history of Philadelphia, and I was the violence coordinator on that. The footwork associated with sword fighting is fairly specific, and it's not easy, right? Advancing and retreating is a little bit alien to the human body, so the actor needs to have it trained into their body. So here we drill every day we have class, and so that involves a lot of advance, retreat, retreat, and doing that repetitively over and over again, so the actor works it into their body. Because the fight is not going to be the same, exactly the same every night. The moves will be the same, but there are always variations on stage. You might end up in slightly a different place or at slightly different distance, and you have to make up that distance. So if the actor's trained to do that, they will be able to do that on the fly, which is something that's necessary to do. So we spend a lot of time on that. A block, boom, a heart, yeah, boom, there, and there, right? Take it away first. Then what happens next? You put the weapon on the ground?
I dangle it in front of me.
Okay, so the dangle it there, and then what?
She's gonna fall over. And then I get down like a squat.
Yeah, you get rid of the sword?
No, it's just kind of in my elbow.
In your elbow?
Or yeah, just
how long?
That's just how it is.
Okay. All right, that's fine, but let's do that and not do a wound there. If you need a wound, we'll figure out something else. We saw the difference in what, right? So
yeah, it was in front of the cross.
Okay, good. What is the process for staging fights for a sword fight? It's different for different people. I see the patterns in the air, and it's weird to me that other people do not. Meaning that if I'm looking at one actor who's supposed to be playing, like, say, Tybalt, and another actor who's supposed to be playing Romeo. I look at them standing in the space, and I know that with these particular weapons, there's only a certain amount of a certain number of ways that these two people in these parts as these characters can move. And given the background, it's going to start in a certain way, you know? Of course, I always spend time, the first thing I usually do on a show is first read the script, always be well familiar with the script so you know what you're talking about, and you know what the playwright intended. Then I talk to the director, find out what they want from the show. For example, recently, the Romeo and Juliet that just opened, Amina Robinson brilliantly directed it, and I spoke with Amina at length, and she told me very specifically what she was looking for. She wanted a gritty, realistic violence, people really trying to hurt each other. And then I met the actors, worked with them, found out how they moved. And once I had that, the fights were sort of narrowed down in my head, and they could only be certain things.
A lot of choreography for me when I'm choreographing, I don't like coming into it with like, here's exactly what the fight's gonna be, because you could choreograph a whole thing and then, you know, someone's left-handed and you have to throw everything out. So I like to keep a little bag of tricks of like, here's a move section that I really like, here's a parry into an attack that I think is really cool.
There's a system for an attack that is avoided. There is a cue, and the other person avoids, and then my attack fills that space. And there's a specific rehearsal technique we use to get actors to that place. But that rule is responsible for saving more actors' eyes, noses, and teeth than anything going. My schedule has been, of late, very, very busy. And that's good, but it's hard to, I did 6 shows this fall, and that's too many. I did it, and I did them well. I'm not saying I didn't, but it was a lot to keep track of while I was doing it. And I actually have amazing, amazing assistants, amazing young teachers and fight directors in their own right who are assisting me on a regular basis, and they are super talented, and I'm really lucky to have them around, and they enable me to be able to juggle my schedule when it gets that crazy.
Ian has taught me a lot of choreography techniques. A lot of who I am has been shaped by the different teachers I've learned under.
Anyone can technically do this, but no one can do it safely unless they learn the proper way to do it. That's been the most important, but the most rewarding part of learning under him is meeting all the people in the community. There are plenty of people here in Philadelphia who are in the stage combat community.
We're really opening and really open-minded, and we do our best to work with everyone. If people have injuries or things that they're comfortable with, we will accommodate for that, and there's really nothing to be scared of.